the last day of the season is very exciting for some teams, but for Arsenal, it just wasn't because after all, Arsenal pretty much confirmed second place. It would have taken a very big goal difference for Manchester City in order for Manchester City to get ahead of Arsenal, but that wasn't going to happen, especially with the case that Arsenal were against Southampton. Now, Southampton, as well as they have been against Arsenal over the years, this season they've been very poor. And while we were away to their ground, I wasn't really too bothered by them. I knew that we were going to get some sort of result today, but you know what, it is what it is. We got the result and I'm really happy for a few things. Kieran Tierney, what a great servant he's been to the club. I'm really sad with the fact that he's leaving, and I really thought that he would have been the Arsenal captain with the way that he was and some of the runs that he used to make down at left back. And football is just crazy with all its formations and everything that's going on and the tactics, and I really thought he would have been here for the long run for about 10-15 years at Arsenal, because I really thought he would have been that guy. But unfortunately he was out of favour, and the way he managed to get that finish today against Southampton with his right foot like a striker essentially, you couldn't write it. Football is something you just can't write, and for him to get the goal, I'm really happy for him, and I hope that he goes back to Celtic and he rebuilds his career and he gets to be the player that he is. I mean, he's only 26-27 years old. There's so much more to come from him, and I really hope that he does the best in his career. And if we were to talk about some of the other players for Arsenal, I think that Martinelli was getting one-on-one chances. Although he did miss, it's nice to see him down the middle, and it makes you think another missed opportunity. Maybe we could have put him down the middle earlier on in the season and just seen what we could have done, but there's not much we can do at this point. And you guys got to remember, Martinelli was originally a striker when he was first at Arsenal, especially when Emery was utilising him. He was on the wing, but he would also come up front as well, and that's where a lot of people saw him. And I saw Zinchenko play midfield, and to be honest, he looked rather attacking. I thought he played quite well, especially in the midfield, and he took some shots. And the thing is, in football, is that I get you want to have a certain style of playing at the ball on the wing, but sometimes you need to be a bit less predictable and you need to get goals from other areas. And for Zinchenko to get a shot out a couple times and really be forward thinking is a very good thing. And Martin Odegaard, he got a goal outside the box, he shot from outside the box and he got his goal, and you just think to yourself, what if he done that more earlier this season? I know the manager has his tactics, I know he has his instructions, but as a captain you want more decisions that you need to take on yourself for the betterment of the team. And I think that Martin Odegaard, from him, I think he could have done that a little bit more in the sense of just taking more shots, in my opinion. But it was a good goal, it's just too late and you know what, next season I need to see him shoot more, because by not having him shoot you get rid of one of your main goal threats. And with a team that is very strong defensively but is lacking options up front, I don't see how not letting a Martin Odegaard shoot would provide you with any benefits. But you know what, the season's done, we can move on. I think that with this game it's good to get as many points as possible in one way, and just to keep the standards up in some way. We also were on 74 points last season, we're on 89. It's not been good. There's been a lot of regression that's happened in terms of the Premier League. That's 15 points, that's probably what, 5 games essentially. But with the 14 draws and the amount of points missed from winning positions, it makes you think, what if in a lot of these scenarios? But overall, I thought Arsenal did pretty well in this game. I thought it's good to see some players go. I think Sterling, he's there, and less said the better, to be honest with you. And yeah, I think it's been good overall. Now, if we were to go to the other games that's happened, the funniest thing was everyone was looking at United and Villa, and they were looking at Newcastle, and they were just thinking, and Newcastle lost, which was the funny thing. So there was a good chance that they would have been out of the Champions League, but for some reason United decided to turn it on in the last game of the season when no one cared and no one bothered to even look at them, because after that Europa League debacle against Tottenham, you just thought to yourself, well, there's not much more to expect from you. And you know what, when you least expect it, when you don't expect things from Manchester United, then they suddenly decide to turn up. And I gotta be honest, when I saw that handball controversy, I can understand where the ref is coming from, because with referees they really try to protect the goalkeeper as much as possible. But on the other hand, you can argue that yeah, maybe Morgan Rogers should have got that goal. But I understand where the referees come from, but with the way that it happened, I think they should have just left it to VAR. I don't know why VAR didn't get involved, because it's there specifically for those decisions, and it shouldn't really matter when the referee blew their whistle or not. I think it's just ways to escape responsibility or to shirk responsibility. So that's what I think. But overall, I think Aston Villa should have beaten Manchester United, and the main reason for that is Martinez. Martinez did an absolute rugby tackle on Højlund and cost Villa the Champions League for next season. I think it's as simple as that. I think Villa had opportunities. I think Ollie Watkins did get into good spaces, but Ollie Watkins, when he was one-on-one, he decided to go wide, and you just thought to yourself, what the hell are you doing? Why are you not taking the shot? It was really odd, it was really bizarre, and it just wasn't really good from him. I think that subbing off Asensio gave them another problem, because you can tell he's up front, he can be a threat, he can be creative, and he can really do some things, but when they lost that, then it became a lot harder for them. And when Daniel Malen was on the pitch, they got onto a transition where they were on a counter attack, and then he absolutely fluffed it with one of his opportunities where he tried to pass the ball across the wing essentially, and it just missed everyone. So with Villa and with Emery looked absolutely annoyed and angry. I thought that it felt like prime Barclays, to be honest with you, and I thought that someone was going to get banned, there was going to be some sort of fight, but it almost got to that point, but it didn't. And I just think that it's part of Emery's thing in the league. I mean, this is the second time where, I don't know, has he bottled it, you could say, maybe, but the thing is that the players didn't do themselves any justice, especially with Martinez's, I don't know, that mistake or just that horrible decision that he made to rugby tackle Højlund. Because if you look on the screen, I think the other defender would have made it. I think they would have been able to get across the field and maybe get Højlund, because let's be honest, Højlund isn't that good of a player, he's not that good of a striker, you know, he's barely scored any goals this season. So yeah, that's just from that. But yeah, Manchester United, when you least expect them, when you don't need them to perform, they perform. I didn't want them to perform. Obviously, it would have been funny to see Newcastle get out of the top 5 now, which is weird in itself. I don't know how football went from top 4 to top 5. And the thing is, a lot of Arsenal fans thought that maybe Isak would come to Arsenal if Newcastle were out of the top 5. But I think even if Newcastle were out of the top 5, and even if they were not playing in the Champions League, who's the guarantee that he would even move, or Newcastle would sell him for a cheaper price? I don't think that would have happened. Everyone knows Isak is one of the top strikers in the Premier League, arguably the best striker in the Premier League, bar Haaland, and I think he would have been difficult for them to sell to any team anyhow. And it shouldn't take away the fact that Arsenal should still look for a striker, but that's just besides the point. Chelsea are through to the Champions League, City are through, Newcastle, Liverpool and Arsenal, those are the 5 teams that will be in the Champions League next season, as well as Tottenham. Wow, it's weird. So 6 teams in the Champions League next season from the England sides. That's pretty remarkable, to be honest with you. I feel bad for Villa, but at the end of the day, they were the architects of their own downfall. They did pretty well in the Champions League this year, and who knows, maybe next year they might do pretty well in the Europa League. I mean, Emery is the master of that. He knows how to get those European titles, in the Europa League anyway. So he knows what to do there. Other than that, I think the other games, Newcastle lost. It gave Villa a lifeline, but unfortunately they just didn't take it. Nottingham Forest are, I think, in the Europa League, or they might be in the Conference League, on one of the two. So it's just unfortunate from them, because they were in the top 4 race for a very long time this season, but they just dropped off. And overall, last game of the season, it was very, very entertaining. Like, yeah, I mean, from the Arsenal game, there wasn't much to expect, but I was keeping an eye on the other games, just watching them, especially with the United game, because that was just hilarious what was going on there. It was pretty much a comedy. I really thought Villa would take it to them, but they didn't. And I think I share the general consensus where I'm happy the season's over. Liverpool get to celebrate. And speaking of Liverpool and facing Crystal Palace, I think they drew, but they did a guard of honor for each other, which was weird. I've never really seen that before. But some people are saying football is gone. I get it, but I don't know. Considering Crystal Palace's history with Liverpool and what they done back in 2014 when they cost Liverpool the title, yeah, I don't know. I think it's just me, but I'm happy that Crystal Palace has won the FA Cup. I actually saw the parade, and to be honest, I just wish, what if Arsenal managed to win something this season, because it's been so long that Arsenal have won a trophy. But yeah, that is my thoughts on the game, the last day of the season. It was very entertaining in terms of just seeing what happened to United and the whole Villa Newcastle situation. And you know what, some people are saying it might be so many players last game. I think Eriksen scored the penalty and he's gonna go. There's talks on possibly Bruno Fernandes maybe leaving as well. I think in that team there's so many players leaving, especially even Johnny Evans as well, and when you count the players, it's like 10-15 players. So I don't know what United are going to do next season. I don't know who they're going to play, but it's going to be really funny. And you know what, especially with Amram's speech at the end of the game where he talks about the good times, to be honest, it just sounds like the regular old waffle you always hear from any of these managers that try to justify themselves, because there's no justifying Manchester United this season and there's no justifying that performance in the Europa League. But long may it continue. Let's see what happens. And yeah, on to next season. I'll probably do a review of the season. I'll probably talk about Arsenal a bit more, but for now, this is just more on the last day and it was entertaining, gotta admit. Anyhow, that's the end of this video. Please like and subscribe and hope to see you all soon. Bye bye.